Welcome back to Gems with Genesis Amaris Kemp. Today with me, I have Heather Lee Chapman, all the way from Canada. A little bit about Heather. She is a holistic performance and business coach, the owner and creative director of Own It Empire. She assists people to become their best versions of themselves and live their best lives. How awesome is that? And a little bit about Heather's back end story. Her journey includes multiple concussions, and brain injuries, resulting in years of recovery. Using her experiences, she's been able to create a new breed of conscious entrepreneurs who are creating sustainable lifestyles that support healthy living. But that's just a little bit about Heather, but I'm going to let Heather explain the rest about who she is. Welcome, Heather, and thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Genesis. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you today. So I hope everybody is ready to be inspired because I live to inspire and educate. And a little bit more background about me. I started actually as a registered kinesiologist because I actually had health issues from since I was younger. So I went to, study the human body. And then I still couldn't find a doctor that could help me. So I actually ended up in a naturopath's office and she was able to help me. And then I went to nutrition school. So I really, truly believe that nutrition school saved my life in many ways. One, in the digestive issues, but second was while I was there, I had some concussions. And if it wasn't for the supplementation and education that I had, I wouldn't have been able to continue working the way that I was. I wouldn't have been able to heal as quickly as I was. And so that led me to work as a nutritionist and a life skills coach with brain and spinal cord injuries. And while doing that, I really learned how to be an incredible coach. So I still had my own business as a kinesiologist and personal trainer and nutritionist, but really started to dive into the brain injuries and really realized I loved coaching people to become high performers. So I was doing that already with my private clients, but the reward to be able to take someone from immobile to back to work was one of the most rewarding things that I could do. And what it did really teach me was all the aspects of human performance and really how to hone in on that. And that led me to study with Bob Proctor. And I've studied almost all of his courses, read almost all of his books. And he is one of the top human potential and performance coaches in the world and has over 56 years of education, of studying human potential and performance. And that really transformed my life. And so although I did study human performance in university and did, learn a little bit about conditioning and minored in psych and bio, Bob Proctor just has a different way to look at it. Like he really does. And what it taught me was that we're walking around like our 7-year-old selves. We've been conditioned to be a certain way. And we're not taught in school how we work, how to acknowledge that we have a consciousness. Like if everybody stopped and said hello right now in your head, you hear the voice. That's you, that's your consciousness, but often it goes in every direction, right? So really starting to own our mind, own our intellect, own our emotions and our physical body will help us be our best version of ourselves. And then in order to really have an impact in the world, I really believe entrepreneurship is an opportunity for freedom, but also to change the world. So I'm on a mission to help conscious entrepreneurs, become wealthy, increase their awareness, increase their impacts, and really help this world be a better place. So I do that through my Own It Mastermind program and my one-on-one coaching and through my books and writing. I just love helping people really step into their best selves. And I know that people are like, oh, Heather, you live so blissful, everything works out for you. But as I've shared, I've had a lot of struggles along the journey as well. And that just helps me understand people on all levels, really. And just to show people what's possible, because if all the things that I've been through, if I can do it and I can get to be where I am now, where, sometimes I could barely move for 10 minutes. Sometimes I couldn't remember people's names or, what day it was, all the things. And to be where I am now at high performance and to help other people and just to show people what's possible, it's just, you can have whatever you want. You've just got to put your mind to it.
Woo, an amazing introduction. And listeners and viewers, now that you know a little bit about Heather, today's topic is manifesting by thought, or you could say manifesting through thoughts. So Heather is going to unpack this amazing topic because we want you to manifest your greatness. We want you to get outside of your current season into the season that you want to flourish and thrive in. We also want you to manifest your endless possibilities and make your dreams reality. And so, what better way to do that by really unpacking what is manifestation? What does it look like? What are the tools to go about manifesting certain things to come into your wheelhouse? Because we could talk about things all day long, but if we're not putting in the proper practices to get the manifestation of what we want, we're still going to remain stagnant. So, Heather, whenever you think about manifestation and manifesting all the goodness around you and in you, what does that look like?
So there's four main stages of manifesting, and I'll go through that and give you guys some tips, because what most people do is they only do the first two stages. They get ideas and then they get thoughts. And then most people's ideas and dreams die inside of them because they miss the plan and the action and the persistence, right? Because most people might try once and then, oh, that thing doesn't work. And then they give up. But the truth is, we just have to enter the spirit of it. So I will go into that a little bit more. But what does manifesting look like for me? It looks like thinking about what is the best that can happen, truly sitting in the energy and the thoughts and ideas around that, creating a plan, taking an inspired action, and then having the best thing show up for me, whether it's what I was taking the action in or not. Because I took the action, it really helps activate the law of attraction and bring towards you what you desire. So it may not be the way you thought it was going to show up, but it shows up. So for me, manifesting is deciding what I want, keeping my mind, thoughts, feelings, and emotions all around already having it, and then just, expecting the magic and miracles and waiting for it to show up.
I like that. And one thing that you taught about in your class that you just had, it was vision boards, because sometimes you need to really see the vision out there before you obtain the things that you want in your vision. Or some people who may be religious or spiritual always say, write the vision and make it plain. Habakkuk 2:2. So if you're not writing the vision and making it plain, if you're not putting it on the vision board, do you think that somebody can manifest something without doing those steps?
I think the number one, it comes down to the feeling. So if we can enter the spirit of it and work with the law of assumption, which means you assume the feeling of the wish and goal already achieved, you can absolutely, you may not have to have a vision board, but you need to have an incredible imagination because your mind thinks in pictures. So you need to already be able to see on your mind all the things that you desire and then sit in the feeling of having it. And for most of us, putting that vision board and creating that vision board and putting it somewhere where we can see often helps so much, because how many of us have such control of our mind that, let's say 98% of the time, you can ignore current reality because that's projection from your mind. It's not the true reality, right? You get to create the reality any moment you want. Why are some people living through this time through fear, worry, and doubt, and some people living through it like nothing's ever happened? Because we create our own reality. It is in our own consciousness. So if you have a problem maintaining that consciousness of and using that law of assumption, then the vision board is so helpful because it's a constant reminder. And we also use goal cards, right? So the goal card, I have a visualization that goes with my goal achieved. And sometimes we forget and we get stuck in the current reality and results. And every time I put my hand in my pocket, I hit that goal card or I feel it poke me because it's all bent now. I feel it poke me. It reminds me, and immediately that picture of the goal achieved comes onto my mind, and I can come back to the feeling and use that law of assumption and enter the spirit of a thing again. But for most of us, as I said before, that consciousness, that voice inside of us, we're usually entertaining the wrong one. The ego, the personality, right? The conditioning, not necessarily our higher self. And so that vision board helps us truly get into the feeling, have that picture and that constant reminder. And if you're at it, vision board and goal card will help.
And I like that. And for the listeners and viewers, a goal card, it could be an index card where you write down the goals that you want to achieve. It does not have to be anything fancy. And whenever Heather first talked about it, I thought she was saying gold, like gold earrings or like gold gold thing. And then I was like, wait, I'm hearing this wrong. So I had to go back and listen to her teaching. And I was like, oh, goal. Like if I'm scoring a goal in a soccer game, goal card. And you could get a piece of paper and laminate it, but just make sure you do the work to write down what are your goals and what you want to achieve. And then she also talked about either getting a crystal or a stone and pairing that with your goal card and keeping it in your pocket, your purse, or wherever you stick your hands in the most. So that way it's a constant reminder that these are my goals. This is what I'm working to achieve. And what's the best that can happen to me, right?
Absolutely. And I love putting like a quarter and a crystal in, because if you don't feel the card, you'll often hear them jingle and tap each other. And I've been doing the gratitude crystal since before I was in nutrition school. I got it from the book The Magic, which is a 28-day gratitude practice. So highly, highly recommend. That's what we're going to be reading in our program next, because every time I do that book, I manifest like a goddess. And it's all because I'm in gratitude and I'm in high vibes. And for many of us, we need to practice the law of satisfaction. So when we set that goal, we now have a cognitive dissonance. We want to be there where the goal is, but we're here where we are. And so we get into the feeling of lack, and that actually blocks us manifesting. So you want to practice the law of satisfaction and be happy and grateful for what you have, and you can still desire more and assume the feeling of that wish fulfilled. And what will help you stay in the gratitude and out of the fear, worry, and doubt is that great book, The Magic. It's a 28-day gratitude practice. So I highly recommend that. Will list 10x your manifesting.
Thank you so much for sharing that resource and always just dropping gems. And I just want to peel back the onion a little bit, because we hear the success that you have now. We hear how the manifestation is working out and all the greatness, the blissfulness, the amazing, amazing, endless possibilities and opportunities that you're walking in. But for someone who is just starting out on their manifestation journey, or they may be in a period of their life where they're going through the unknowns and they're like, is this really going to work? Is this not going to work? I kind of want you to talk about your story. And you have a impactful story, because I just read, a little bit of it whenever you went through the concussions and all of that stuff, your health challenges that led you to go to nutrition school. It also led you to study with Bob Proctor. So you went through all these trials and tribulations while you were going through that period of your life. Did you know about manifestation, or was it something that you leaned towards due to the trials and tribulations that you were facing, but you said, you know what, my end goal is bigger and brighter than where I am now, so I have to change my mindset and recondition in order to get out of this situation? What did that look like for you? And I just wanted you to kind of put that in terms to help someone who may be struggling, so they can know how you go from that hard thing to the easy thing, which is possible if we work at it.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. So we were raised a certain way in our household, similar to everybody else. I had grandparents on both sides that had been in the war on opposite sides. So that was interesting. And we all got along. So all is well. And all of a sudden, my mom had health issues. No one could help her. She started looking into the metaphysical, naturopath, stuff like that, and found all Wayne Dyer's work, Louise Hay's work, so many other ones. And all of a sudden, she started to try to change our thought patterns. So for so many of us, we don't realize that when we talk, we still come from lack. Right? We talk about what we don't want. You say, oh, I don't want it to rain. But guess what? The consciousness and the, let's say, law of attraction, the energy doesn't understand negative or positive. It heard rain, right? So what you would want to say is, I prefer sunshine today. So that was one of the biggest changes and lessons that my mom started with us with. And that's what I would recommend to everyone. And that requires you to hear that conscious voice, to hear how you're actually speaking, to be an observer of it. So I've been doing the magic practice for almost a decade and working with the law of attraction. And I watched The Secret when I was about 18. So if you haven't watched The Secret, it's kind of the first introduction to the law of attraction, but the law of attraction is a secondary law. The primary law is the law of vibration. So you attract what you're vibrating in, and you vibrate in whatever emotions and feelings you're sitting in, and your emotions are triggered by your thoughts, and your thoughts are triggered by your ideas. And then your emotions are going to help you cause your actions. So for many of us who are new to manifesting, along the journey, sometimes I would go in highs and lows. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew I was, things worked out for me easily. And I wasn't truly consciously aware of it until I had other people in my life say, I've never met somebody who just, decides they want a new contract and they have a new contract in 2 weeks. And we were creating a workshop and we were talking about mindset. And I was like, that friend where everything works out for her. And one of the other coaches was like, that's you. Don't you know that's you? Everything always works out for you. And I was like, oh. So then I had to start to analyze and see, what am I doing differently from other people? And if you haven't read the book, The Slight Edge, that's a really good book. Is often we have habits that get us to our success. We start thriving and then we stop doing the habits that got us there. And then we get back to like surviving. And then what got us there? We implement those habits and then we're thriving again. And we're often looking like that. So my manifesting journey looks quite like that, right? I would do my gratitude journal. I would stay in gratitude. I would be in joy. And then, life shows up. Trauma happens. Then you get into the negative, fear, worry, doubt, and then I wouldn't manifest as much. And then I'd be like, okay, well, what was I doing before that worked? Come back to your gratitude journal, come back to your affirmations, come back to your meditation, your visualization, come back to joy. How can you be in more joy, the highest vibration, the highest frequency, so you attract more to be in joy of? And so for me, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster until yeah, exactly. It was a manifesting roller coaster. It's like bliss, struggle, bliss, struggle. And that is also the law of rhythm, right? Life looks like that, our highs and lows. And what helps us manage the highs and lows, if we can manage our vibes. So when we go low, that's good. When we go high, that's good. And what that will cause is a less of a pendulum swing, if that makes sense, right? So we get really excited, things work and we're like, woo, and then something doesn't work and we're like, oh my God. But if we were just like, that's good, the pendulum would swing less and we would have less highs and lows. So that's one of the major things that I've learned that will help you make the shift. But the second was actually creating a practice. So when I started studying with Bob Proctor, I actually started creating like habits and residual practices. So how we start our day is like sending the signals out for what you want to attract back for the rest of the day. So really, truly creating that space for you in the morning to set your intention for your day, to come back to the thoughts and the feelings around the goal achieved, to do your gratitude. And when we can take that, visualize meditation, when we can take that time for ourselves, we can get ahead of the frequency. We can get ahead of the attraction. We can get ahead of the vibration. And Abraham Hicks says that. So if you ever want to listen to her on YouTube, that's what she says. You want to get ahead of it, right? So when something shows up that you don't like, all it means is your thoughts were there most of the time and you attracted it. It's attraction, attraction, attraction. And when we can take the full responsibility, which, sucked. I remember being like, I attracted all those car accidents. You're right, because we have a self-concept. And every time I was about to, 10x my income, I had an injury. Why? Because our self-concept wasn't there at that level. So as you're growing and trying to manifest, you have to change your concept of yourself. You can't get there from here, as Abraham Hicks says. And so the version of you can't have that goal achieved because you'd have it already. So the process and that roller coaster for me, for you, for everyone comes down to those habits that we implement and stick to, watching that pendulum swing. So everything is that's good. Trying to stay in joy as much as possible. Use your feelings as a compass. But then really, truly pause and think, what do I want? Because if we don't have the clarity around that, then we can't have it. And once you know what you want, You can decide who is that person being with that goal achieved. And you get to create this whole new concept of yourself. So in the power of awareness, I love how he says, you need to be so different that you don't even know where the body is buried. You don't know how that version of you talked. You don't know what habits they had. You don't remember how they dressed. You don't remember their traumas. Like, that body is dead and buried and gone. And you at any moment get to decide that this is a new you. This is a new life. You don't, I say it's a Santa sack of shit of all the things that we carry around. We want to validate. But Heather, I had a car accident. But Heather, my grandfather committed suicide. But Heather, all the trauma. Guess what? What if we just let them go? Right? And it's doing that inner work, working with the right coaches, reading the right books, because it is going to be a roller coaster of a journey. And every time you start to go down, know that you need to go back and work on that concept of yourself, your habits, and your energy. And then we make ourselves so bad and wrong, but what if just today you did something more for joy? And just that alone will change your ability to manifest.
I love that. And that's why we're talking about manifesting by what, Heather?
I thought.
By thought, manifesting through thought. And it's so important. And one thing that I do is in the morning, whenever I am alone, like taking a shower or the bath is like my alone time. So I'll say my morning affirmations during there because I don't have my phone near me. I don't have any distractions. It's just me, the nice like water beating down on me or the nice soaking. And I'll say, I'm healthy, I'm whole, I'm well, I'm prosperous, I'm going to sell X number of books a day and stuff like that. And I'll kind of go through it. But it took me a while to work up to doing that. And then whenever you get out the shower or the bath, you look yourself in the mirror and you embrace all the good qualities that you have about yourself. Like, you say, I'm beautiful, I'm attractive, I'm getting my six pack back. Like, ooh, my muscles are lean, mean, and trim. Or you just say, my muscles are lean and trim, I'm cut in the right places. Like, I am walking into wholeness. I'm walking into prosperity, abundance. I'm rich in the spirit and I'm rich on earth. And you kind of say all the things that, will counteract those negative thoughts from creeping in. And I don't know if that's a part of manifestation, but that's something that I do. And it works for me because whenever you think about those positives and those highs in your life, then you'll start to gravitate towards them.
Yeah. And just to add to that, so if you think about that, it's your thoughts, it's your self-concept. So when I doubled my income at the beginning of the year, you know what the epiphany was? Yeah, was that I didn't love myself enough and believe I was worthy enough to double it. Right. And so if you actually paused for a second and went, okay, so the only reason I don't have what I want is because I don't believe I'm worthy of it. I don't have a self-concept that I'm worthy of it. Then the mirror work is so important. I had a coach once actually challenge me to stand in front of the mirror and for 10 minutes do self-love work. So just say I love you, say all the positive things, and stay there for 10 minutes and just watch that change. And for some people, mirror work, in the beginning, they're like, no way, stand there and say I love you, right? But have some fun with it. I had, a random spiritual guru come up to me and be like, I need to talk to you, at a fundraiser. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, you are supposed to do so much, but you just don't love yourself. And I was like, who are you? And she was like, you need to go home today. And in the mirror, I need you to be like, I love you and have some fun with it. So be like, I love you, girl. You're beautiful. I love all about you, everything about you now and before. You're perfect, whole, and complete. You're capable, worthy, and deserving. And just really, truly, you hit the nail on the head. That self-love mirror work is one of the biggest key components and secrets to manifesting 100%.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather. And thank you for breaking it down because the whole mission behind GEMS is not only to inspire and motivate, but it's also to educate the viewers and the listeners because we no longer want them to play safe. We want them to achieve everything that they desire want and need. But if we don't have these conversations where we could really talk about different principles to unlock destiny assignments and destiny keys and help them walk into their land of flourishing, their land of thriving, their land of, hey, everything that I want is right here, then they're not going to get there if we don't have these type of conversations. And they may get there, but it may just take them a lot longer. But if they have the information up front that makes them prevalent and makes them want to, just jump out their seat to be like, yes, this is what I've been yearning for, this is what I needed to hear, this is what I needed to see, let's go, let's go, then we'll get there. We need to be pumped. We need to have that positive energy. We need to have that high note. And I tell people sometimes you may be the highest note person in your circle. And if that's the case, it's time for you to change your circle, because you need somebody that will pick you up when you're feeling low and that will stretch you outside of your comfort zone to get to where you want to go, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a new circle of friends, whether it's just somebody that sees your potential when you can't see it in yourself. Kind of similar to what you said, Heather. Somebody came up to you, they told you, you don't love yourself. And you're like, what? Who the heck are you? Like, how do you know me? You probably were thinking that. And it's like, it's so weird. But then it's like when you're walking into divine opportunities, there's divine interventions and divine connections that will just show up at random times. And when you're operating in the natural, it's like, it's so weird. But then when you're operating in the supernatural, you're in the spiritual realm and you're seeing things from a different altitude, a different vantage point, and a different vibration. And then you begin to understand why these things are happening to you, but also for you.
100%. And I could say there's tons of weird experiences like that in my life. But that's just divine synchronicity. That just means you're in the right place at the right time. And I truly believe there's so much more than we can truly understand. There was a couple things as you were talking that I wanted to just add in about my journey in manifesting that are two major tips that will help huge. So one was, when I started studying with Bob Proctor's community, that changed. I always wanted to play big. I had my vision. I would practice it out. I would stand in front of the mirror and pretend I was speaking in front of millions of people, right? Do the confidence pose, get the outfits on. I would do the things. But it wasn't until I was in Bob Proctor's community that I actually was with other people that, I wasn't afraid to share my dreams and goals with, because they were dreaming and playing equally as big. Yeah, like huge. And that is when I could go, oh, actually Bob Proctor's masterclass, the guy that introduced me, it was because of him that I was like, I need to add a few zeros onto my goal, because I was like, oh, I want to be a billionaire, this, that, and the other thing. He's like, oh, we have someone who just did that. And yeah, now they're working on being a trillionaire. And I was like, well, why can't I do that? Right. And then you change your goal. So you have to be surrounded by people who are adding only to your goal. That's why I have a mastermind, and not taking away from it, not telling you how you can't, or giving you all the reasons why not. So Google Bob Proctor 333 article. He explains it on his website, but that's how we need to live life. We never entertain the reasons how we cannot. We only entertain the why we can and how it can show up and how it feels. And we must remain in that how it can category, because as soon as you go to the how you can't, that's what you attract, right? And so now as you go for every one of those bigger goals, guess what shows up? You're so freaking uncomfortable. You are so scared. You're like, you've put everything on the line. Like, I have 3 hours left to bring in 10 grand. And if I don't do that, like everything, like this, nothing's going to work this month. And you're like, can you imagine the pressure? You're like, no big deal. I stay in the can. Went for a run. I did something for joy, had a consult call booked by the time I came back, closed the client that night, right? So you want to ask yourself, are you going to keep the vision to the very last minute? Are you going to stay in the energy? Are you going to stay in the uncomfortable? And guess what? If it didn't work out, all it just means is we didn't stay in the assumption of the feeling fulfilled long enough, and we just go back and do it again. We don't give up. But yes, you're going to feel like an internal war. There's like the ego that's like 100% just trying to say like, you cannot, right? And then you've got your personality, which is your human conditioning, where your parents, your grandparents were like, it's too hard to earn money. You can't be an entrepreneur. All wealthy people are evil, right? And then you've got your higher self that's just like, come on, just be an entrepreneur. You're You know you want to do it, right? And so you've got to, yeah, and connect to that higher self, because for so many of us, we entertain the other voices. Okay, so let's ignore those and just know if they're there and they're getting louder, because they're going to play louder and bigger no matter what. Whether you're 86 and taking on a new goal, 21 taking on a new goal, like, it doesn't matter. As soon as you're stepping out into that new self concept, into a new goal, into a new version of you, that uncomfortableness should be your new norm. You're now so comfortable being comfortable, and you're so enthusiastic about the achievement of your goal that nothing else matters.
I love that. And as we wind down, Heather, I want you to leave the listeners and the viewers with your call to action or three major gems that will stick with them and resonate with them. And then tell them once again who you are, how they could connect with you on social media, and tap into your awesome mastermind and your upcoming vision board class.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, first of all, for allowing me to share my knowledge and energy with your community. I hope you guys all enjoyed the incredible podcast episode. And so, you know me, I'm Heather Lee Chapman. You can find me in the Own It community on Facebook, where we curate a space for entrepreneurs to truly step into their greatness and support each other. And in this group this month, on the 19th, we are doing a masterclass. Now, we do free tips and tricks every week, myself and our coaches, and we do a workshop or a masterclass every month. And this month, it is the free masterclass on vision boarding and how it's a guide to manifest quickly. So super, super excited. I've had people even say to me, I've taught vision board workshops and I don't know how, I've never had it taught by you. And now my children are even doing it the way you taught. So this is different. If you've made a vision board before, this is different. We're not just making a vision board. We're going through the 4 stages of manifesting, and it's just going to be completely different. You're going to have so much fun with it. And if you truly want to step into your greatness and you're a conscious entrepreneur, or you have an idea and you're ready, let's book that free strategy call and get you on a call with us to see if the Own It Mastermind program is a fit for you. It is an Own It mastermind program unlike any other that you've ever met. Like, we have personal and professional development, accountability. It is high touch coaching. And as far as I know, we're the only people truly working on the physical and metaphysical, with mind, body, soul, with nutrition and everything you need for your business, and teaching you how to give up the struggle, embrace the bliss, and use that higher self to truly own it. So 3 last tips is: 1, you attract what you're being. So think, how am I feeling? My feelings were triggered by my thoughts. Are those the thoughts that are going to get me closer to my goal? And would I think that if I already had my goal? And if not, we need to change them, because that's who you're being. So 1 is you attract who you're being. 2, you are the sum. You are basically the same as the 5 people you spend your most time with. So, like, I know it sounds crazy, but you're going to change your inner circle as you grow, or they've got to grow with you, or they vibrate out. It's not personal, it's vibrational. But if you want to play bigger, you've got to hang around with people playing bigger and playing with the community, playing to win, because only 10% of the population is willing to be an entrepreneur and do what it takes and look down and around the corner without having a promise. And only 3% of the world truly live in 100% abundance in the way that they want. So guess what? You're looking for the 10 and the 3%. Chances are you're maybe one of those people in your circle are a part of that 10 and 3%. And great, love them where they're at, amazing, but create a new community of people playing to win. I promise you, it will change your life. And then the third is, the number 1 is the law of cause and effect, the law of all laws. So we are the cause. Your life is the effect. So our cause is coming from our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. And Bob Proctor calls that our attitude. So check your attitude and find yourself more joy every day, because joy is the highest vibration. And the law of vibration states you will attract what you're in harmony with. So may you find more joy today.
Wow, amazing gems, Heather. Once again, listeners and viewers, you just heard Heather Lee Chapman, all the way from Canada, here on Gems with Genesis Amaris Kemp. And she taught us on manifesting. So if you're not manifesting, you're not growing. So I want to challenge you to Go back and listen to all these gems that Heather shared throughout this recording and start writing down what you want to achieve now and later on down the future. And get in that mirror, do some mirror work, and do a power pose. Dress like where you're trying to go, and make sure you are tapping in with the right people that are playing big, not playing safe. And until we chat next time, you know what I say: peace, love, and lots of blessings. Signing out, Genesis Amaris Kemp and Heather Lee Chapman.